Morning to everybody, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I have to thank you, the chair of this conference, Dr. Chamanara, who I know has gone through a lot of problems and troubles to have such a seminar. My topic today is about constructing a Kurdish language corpus. Since I know most of the audience are not probably familiar with this concept, I have tried to give a little bit of introduction to what corpus is, and then move on to the problems we came across while we were constructing the Kurdish corpus. Towards constructing a Kurdish corpus, the present paper tries to introduce Kurdish corpus project currently under construction in the, oh yes, excuse me, that's, it happens, probably old age.
I can tell.
Excuse me.
It's okay.
You have to be patient a little bit.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see some different. Yeah, it's not the same. Okay, no problem. Okay. The present paper tries to introduce Kurdish corpus project currently under construction in the University of Kurdistan, Sanandaj, Iran, and the problems associated with it. This project initiated 2 years ago, and the first phase has been completed. This is the first Kurdish corpus available online. Sorani dialect is chosen because of its centrality and that it is spoken by the majority of Kurdish population in Iran and Iraq. The texts used in creating this website is mostly from the news websites like Kurd Press. The corpus at this stage consists of 69,000 news documents, including 14,898,000 words, which consist of 436,000 tokens from a variety of genres. 40 documents have been tagged syntactically with utmost deliberation. No stemma has yet been used to the present corpus, so words like Kurdi and Kurd are counted as 2 words. Kurdish language has a plethora of dialects and writing systems, and this makes building the corpus a difficult job. Lack of a standardization, the diversity of the dialects of Kurdish, and some structural properties of Kurdish language also make it hard for tagging the words syntactically. There are also phonetic peculiarities in this language which makes phonetic tagging problematic too. Absence of a solid OCR, optical character recognition software for Kurdish language to change PDF files into text files to be machine readable is another major problem. All such texts have to be typed, which is very time consuming and economically not viable. Despite all these problems, lack of resources and more, the corpus team in Kurdistan University are determined to continue doing the project. What is a corpus? A corpus can be defined as a systematic collection of naturally occurring texts of both written and spoken language. Systematic means that the structure and contents of the corpus follows certain extra linguistic principles, sampling principles, i.e. principles on the basis of which the texts included were chosen. For example, a corpus is often restricted to certain text types, to one or several varieties of a language, and to a certain time span. If several subcategories, e.g. several text types, varieties, etc., are represented in a corpus, these are often represented by the same amount of text. Systematic also means that information on the exact composition of the corpus is available to the researcher, including the number of words in each category and in the whole corpus, how the texts included in the corpus were sampled, etc. Although corpus can refer to any systematic text collection, it is commonly used in a narrower sense today, and it is often only to refer to systematic text collections that have been computerized. A corpus is a remarkable thing, not because it is a collection of language texts, but because of the properties that it acquires if it is well designed and carefully constructed. Sinclair, 2004. Hanston, 2002, writes, "It is no exaggeration to say that corpora and the study of corpora have revolutionized the study of language." I'm happy that some of the audience here are studying empirical linguistics, and they do probably know what I'm talking about. Most probably. And the application of language over the last few decades. Since the 1980s, corpus linguistics has been applied, among other ways, to dictionary creation, Clear 1996, as an aid to interpretation of literary texts, in forensic linguistics, language description, in language variation studies, and in the production of language teaching materials. Corpus data has also informed studies of the first and second language acquisition. So all these can really help Kurdish language if we have a good, well-designed corpus. We can use the Kurdish corpus in all these areas for the studies of Kurdish language, culture, literature, and all the areas that I mentioned. Factors involved in, excuse me, I think I have not, I'm sorry. Factors involved in construction of corpus. As Sinclair, 2004 says, the job of corpus building divides itself into two stages, design and implementation. But these cannot be completely separated for reasons which are largely practical. One is the cost. Nowadays, most corpora are put together from text that is already digitized. The cost of putting into electronic form text which only exists on paper is very much greater than the cost of merely copying, downloading, and gathering data that is already digitized. So, there is to be a compelling reason for using any of the more laborious methods which were used to capture data in the days before electronic data. Sometimes, however, it is necessary to do things the hard way. For a corpus of informal conversations, for example, a historical document or a handwritten manuscript material. But in all such cases, it is worth it is worth a serious search of various collections and archives, and perhaps a query on the professional lists.
You have 5 minutes left.
Before undertaking the labor of entering new texts. Sinclair 2004 believes which web pages are likely to be the most immediately accessible sources of material. They are by no means the only source, and some of the most valuable text material is merely indexed on a web page, requiring further searching. For example, many large document archives put up their catalog on the web and give opportunities for downloading in various formats. Here, the web is playing the role of a portal. Other providers of text data may issue CDs, especially when there is a lot of data to be transferred. Sometimes payment is required, especially for material that is popular and under copyright. Corpus builders should consider carefully the costs of such data and whether it is justified. Indicative, not definitive. The results of corpus research so far are indicative of patterns and trends, of core structure and likely contributions to theory and description. But they are not definitive. It should become a major objective of serious corpus research to improve the procedures and criteria so that the reliability of the descriptive statement increases. However, this move to greater maturity of the discipline is not an admission of any limitations. Corpora are ultimately finite, and that this is a positive property of them, giving them descriptive clarity. A description based on an adequate theory and a very large and carefully built corpus, combined with flexible and theory-driven software, will provide descriptions far above what we live with at present. The fact that, like any other conceivable description, they will not reflect the ultimate flexibility and creativity of language will be of interest to a small group of specialists, no doubt, but not to the mainstream of research.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Software for building corpus. We need different softwares for building the corpus, of course. And these are the problems we are really facing for creating the Kurdish corpus. If you ask Google for Corpus Builder, you get a number of useful clues. Excuse me for the lag for changing the slides. If you ask Google for the Corpus Builder, you get a number of useful clues which can support corpus building activities. For example, recognizing a particular language in order to select only text in that language. Software is also offered which will build a corpus for you, index it, and allow searches of various kinds. More and more of this kind of product is likely to appear, and according to our purposes and resources, we may look into suitable packages. Free or open source software is often more specialized than the commercial products, but it is more likely to be tricky to install, and it is not always friendly to use. So be prepared for some initial problems with this if we are going to use free softwares.
You are done. Let's finish.
I was taking my time according to, I have 2 minutes, but okay. Can I have my conclusion?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. If not the summary, at least the conclusion. Thank
This
you.
is not lying, by the way.
Conclusion. All that said, when it comes to Kurdish language, the problems double, or even more. That's what I'm going to point out and try to find solutions for. Kurdish language is among less documented languages with relatively less written materials. There are less online materials compared to even Persian language, let alone English. All this makes it harder to compile a corpus large enough for certain purposes. Lack of language standardization is yet another problem for not fully tackled yet. Another problem is the writing system of Kurdish language, which is not standard and does not follow a unique form. Sheikh Islami, 2012, in his paper, Challenges in Kurdish Text Processing, mentions these problems in detail. One more problem is that since Kurdish is not officially taught at schools, at least in Iran, very few people are familiar with the formalities of the language, which makes it more difficult for the people working on the corpus project. Thank you for your patience.